Unbelievable. Behave yourself. Oi. Blooming cat. Soon as I start, soon as I press go live. Have you heard her? Have you heard her? Naughty. Scratching on the furniture. Hey up, it's Steve from that Old Yorkshire Geek, and welcome to my Sunday live news stream. Got a few articles to look at and some news stories. Before we start, don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. We're live on YouTube. I'll just check. Yes, we're live on YouTube and we're live on Rumble, I hope. Let's just check that one as well. Come on. Yes, we're live on Rumble as well. And we should be live on Twitch. Yes, we are live on Twitch. I'll just share that now. I can now we've started. Just share that on Twitter, just in case anybody gives a toss. But anyway. So that's that. What else? I'm also on Rumble, Twitch, blah, blah, I just said that. Later on, I'll be uploading it to stream Spotify. That's it. Tell you, the cat's put me off. I'll be uploading it to Spotify, Amazon Music Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. As you can see, I've got another little logo. just the other side of that one. For my Patreon. Because I've got a Patreon page. It's not a huge amount on yet, but I keep adding stuff. Some early, early access. Where I leave them up on my Patreon page for a couple of weeks, and then I'll bung them on YouTube and make them public on my Patreon page, so you don't have to join to watch those after a couple of weeks. But for the first couple of weeks, it's just for patrons, whatever. They don't call them that now, do they? Call them audiences. I don't know why. But anyway, so there we go. And there's a shout out to my patrons down there. I've only got one, that's Mage Frey. But maybe I'll get more. And I'm sure that's Mage Frey. I'll get fed up of spending $3 a month. But anyway, so that's that. Right. Let's get on with the news. I think the cat wants to let her go out. Yes, she does. Bear with me. Oh, there's always something, isn't there? There's always something. Right. I'll be back in a second. Unbelievable. Right. Let's get on with this news, shall we? As soon as I hit the live button, go live, she started. Anyway, it's raining, so she'll get wet through. So there. Right. News. Let's have a look. I forgot what I'm doing now. Right. Okay. There we go. Got to make myself teach tiny, haven't I? Why is it not coming on? It's doing this again, isn't it? I think it might be my computer. I think it's been acting up. It's been slow on Facebook as well. Facebook's been like freezing up. So anyway, let's give it a minute. It's doing that. No, connection was unstable. If you're on Wi-Fi, I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm wired. So I don't understand. Oh, come on now. Look, I moved my mouse over there and it came on. It's mental. Anyway, right. Right, first off, a serious one from Deadline. As usual, links are in the description down below if you want to read along. Right, Jar Jar Binks actor reveals backlash to Star Wars character made him consider taking his own life. And we've heard all this before, haven't we? From Ahmed Best, we know this, but I thought I'd cover it because it's new news. Right, the actor who played Jar Jar Binks, and there he is, has revealed the devastating personal toll of fans' hatred of his Star Wars character. I know I've said this before, but I don't understand some people. I know it's a tiny minority of people. There's always idiots, isn't there, who take umbrage to the actors and actresses rather than with the character that they're portraying. They're only doing as they're told, aren't they? They're only doing as they're directed. It's not their fault if the characters are awful. Anyway. Ahmed Best thought all his dreams had come true when he was plucked from obscurity to play the gregarious creature, Jar Jar Binks. In George Lucas's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Best had been performing in a percussive dance troupe when he was selected to audition, but his lifelong dream had been to appear in a Star Wars movie until the reality. A lot of people have said that. And it was the same with Ewan McGregor, wasn't it? He didn't have a good time on the prequels, did he? Anyway, never mind. The actor told the UK's Guardian newspaper how the wrath of the fans who took against both the character and him, as I said, I don't know why, I don't know, baffling. It's because they're idiots. Some people are idiots. But as I said, it's a teeny tiny minority. And if you're in the public eye, if you're an entertainer in the public eye, you should be used to, dealing with nutters, basically. Anyway, left him depressed and even at one point standing on the Brooklyn Bridge and considering taking his own life. Best told the paper, he thought, I'll show all of you. I'll show you what you're doing to me. And when I'm gone, you'll feel exactly what I went through. Best appears in a new podcast, The Redemption of Jar Jar Binks, detailing his initial excitement at winning the role. Still, they should have made Jar Jar a Sith. I do. I think he should have been, he should have been the Phantom Menace working behind the scenes. Never mind Sidious. It should have been Binks. Darth Binks. Anyway, I was an enormous Star Wars fan as a kid, Best remembered in the podcast. I didn't know what was happening. I thought it was a prank. He said the backlash started before the film was released and continued with websites dedicated to slamming his character. As I said, the character, not him. And invitations onto chat shows just so hosts could have a pop. Well, that's chat shows. You can't blame the general public for that, can you? That's like professionals. Then when his phone number was leaked and he began receiving death threats, he had trouble leaving his home. Well, change your number. I suppose it's easier said than done, I suppose, but never mind. When Best's phone number was leaked and his answering machine filled up with death threats, it became difficult for the actor to even leave his New York City apartment. I find that hard to believe, to be honest. I thought, people in the public, they probably get death threats all the time. Anyway, and it never, it won't happen, will it? 999,999 times out of a million, you're fine. Anyway, worse was to follow, with criticism that his character had played into racial stereotypes, something he and the producers denied. It was just unfortunate the way some of the characters in Phantom Menace, were portrayed. But he did get that impression with some of them, but, never mind. It was terrible. Best said of the period following the film's release, it was the lowest I've ever been in my life. Although Jar Jar Binks was sidelined in subsequent Star Wars films, Best has continued his connection with the franchise, most recently appearing as a Jedi named Kelleran Beck in the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, and it was quite good. It was him that saved Grogu. It was quite good. Anyway, we've got some comments. Let me have a look, see what the comment says. Sonia says, I love Jar Jar Binks. Still don't understand the uproar about him. He was a good guy. He was just goofy, wasn't he? He was too goofy. That's what it was. Misa, sorry to hear that. People would have loved him if costume instead of CGI. Well, he was actually there on set, dressed up as Jar Jar. They were just going to basically just CGI his head, weren't they? They were there in full makeup, essentially, with like a fake head on. But they were going to replace his head in CG. But they decided to do the whole lot instead. Dirtbag says, Jar Jar was a horrid character, but why was this guy depressed? It wasn't his fault. He just did as the script and director dictated. Glad he's in a seemingly better mental condition now. Yes, exactly. And somebody's replied, people sent him death threats. And yeah, sure they did. Just trust me, bro. Most people probably didn't even know there was an actual actor. Probably. Yeah, probably. The Jar Jar Binks hatred seems quaint now after the train wreck of the sequels. Jar Jar Binks was terrible, blah, blah, blah. Never understood why people didn't like that character. Yeah, I didn't like the character. But, I didn't hate him. He was just too goofy. That's why I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was written. Because George Lucas, he's not, he's a genius at times. But some of the times as well, he's a bit of an idiot, isn't he? He can't write for toffee, can he? To be completely honest. He's an ideas man. He should just come up with ideas. Say, I want this, this, and this to happen. Give it to a professional writer, like Lawrence Kasdan or Lee Brackett, and say, write a good film. And they did. Right, anyway, so that's that. Right, we'll move on. Just make sure we're still going. So I'm worrying about this stream. Worrying about it. It says we're still going on YouTube. And I'll check on my phone. We're still going on Rumble. Oh, hello. On Rumble, MW Quaramhad says, join me. All right, okay, fair enough. Why don't you join me? Well, you have joined me in my chat, so thank you for joining in on Rumble. MD, what? I don't know how to pronounce that. Hang on, I'll copy it. Can I copy this? No, I'm going to have to do it this way because the Rumble chats don't show up on me StreamYard's chat, so I'll copy and paste that into there, and that's what they've said. Join me, join us. Not a deadite, are you? Medwakwaramad. Anyway. And we're still going on Twitch. Yes, we are. We're still going. We're still saying that about connection is unstable. Don't understand it. I wonder if it is my computer. I wonder. Typical. Anyway. Right. I just want to check on my phone and make sure we are still going okay. On the phoneo. Just bear with me. And you'll hear my voice in a minute. Bear with me. Yes, we're still going. Yes, it's fine. I don't understand what's happening with StreamYards. I should just go back to Streamlabs, shouldn't I, and just do my live shows via that. But I joined StreamYards thinking maybe I'll have guests on from time to time, and I haven't. I know you can do it through Streamlabs, but it's a bit more tricky, isn't it? A bit more involved. Right, we'll go on to the next story. Right, here we go. A couple of Lando ones now, if it appears. There we go. Right, Star Wars Billy D. Williams teases something exciting after recent Lando update. Actor Billy D. Williams returned to Star Wars for the first time since 1983's Star Wars Return of the Jedi for 2019 Star Wars The Rise of Palpatine, with the actor recently taking to social media to tease that something exciting was on the way. While there are any number of things that this tease could be alluding to, the fact that Williams rarely makes posts on social media and that most of them are related to Star Wars would make a tease about the galaxy far, far away drinking game. Vimto, but you don't get that in America, do you? No. Additionally, this week saw an exciting report about the Star Wars Lando TV series, which could be hinting that Williams will be involved in the project. Some people have said the Lando series is not happening. A certain husky voice lady was since banned me from her channel. I wasn't going to mention this, but what the heck. I did a light-hearted jab, or dig, or whatever you want to call it. A bit of a joke. I did a smiley face and stuff on it. About she did a video about the Lando series not happening, and then they said that about the Acolyte, which apparently is happening, and she instantly blocked me from her channel. I know you can't ban on YouTube, can you? But apparently you can block people. So there we go. So what I put on on her channel doesn't show up anymore. In the comments. So I replied to her because I did apologize. I did an apology. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. And if I did, I apologize. I said, I'm a fan of the channel, which I was, not anymore. She's kind of got me cross. But anyway, and I've got another YouTube channel. So I commented through that, repeating the apology, saying, because you can't see the previous one because you blocked me. Again, I apologize. She deleted that one. So I thought, right, shite to you then. So I've unsubscribed. So you all know what I mean. She's mental. Right, where were we? But anyway, Williams shared a tweet featuring an image that reads something exciting coming soon. The image appears to be smoky with a bronze-coloured font, offering no obvious clues about what the update could be relating to. Prior to today's tweet, Williams' last post was on May the 4th. Be with you. And the post before that was from February about his involvement at Star Wars Celebration. And there's the tweet. Something exciting coming soon. Following Disney's purchase of Lucasfilm, the studio began expanding on the world in exciting ways, which included developing the movie Solo: A Star Wars Story. Okay. An experience that explored the earlier years of Han Solo. While that movie had a relatively underwhelming performance at the box office, it lost money. The breakout component that nearly all audiences supported was Donald Glover's portrayal of Williams' younger Lando Calrissian. I wasn't overly impressed, to be honest. It was fine. It was okay. It did a reasonable impersonation of Billy D. Williams. But, it wasn't great. None of them were. None of the performances in the movie were amazing. But, it was an okay film. I didn't hate it. Support for Glover's Lando was so strong, in fact, that Disney announced in 2020 that the Star Wars Lando miniseries was being developed. Sorry, I've got a tickly nose, means I'm going to have an argument. With the implication being that it would see Glover reprise the role for the project. Nearly 3 years later, no updates were given about the project, which was announced as coming from filmmaker Justin Simien. With Simien currently promoting his Haunted Mansion movie, he was recently cited as saying he hasn't heard any updates about the project in quite some time. However, Variety confirmed a report that Donald Glover and his brother Stephen Glover, spelt the wrong way, Stephen should always be spelt with a V, in my opinion, had taken over the project from Simien, who had actually been removed from Lando last year. We can speculate that the TV series could embrace the formula of the legend stories, the Lando Calrissian adventures, with Solo featuring a scene in which Lando recalled his adventures, dubbing them the Calrissian Chronicles. We're like reciting them, wanting to as like a hologram thing. We can see Williams playing an older Lando in the series, remembering exploits from his younger years, which would then incorporate Glover as Lando. While the timing of this tease in relation to Lando updates is exciting, Williams could also be teasing something entirely unrelated to Star Wars. Stay tuned for updates on Star Wars Lando. What do you think the tease could be? Let us know in the comments or contact Patrick Kavanagh directly on Twitter to talk all things Star Wars and horror. Whatever. Yeah, so there's that one. So that's Billy D. Williams teasing things. But then there's also this story. From Looper. If it's going to come on. I've got to do that. I've got to move my mouse over it and then it pops on. Bizarre. Star Wars is Disney Plus's Lando Calrissian series dead. So anyway, I don't know if it'll mention Billy D's tweet here, but anyway, never mind. For over 3 years, Star Wars fans have waited for the release of Lando, an in-development Disney Plus series starring Community and Atlanta favourite Donald Glover, reprising the role from the 2018 film Solo: A Star Wars Story. It's been a long road for them, but it's been an ever longer road for showrunner Justin Simien. I certainly poured my heart and spent a lot of time working with them to put together a really great show, he told the Direct earlier this month. It feels like everybody involved loves it. Let's just check, make sure we're still going. Just checking. Not a lot of viewers tonight. I know I don't usually get a lot of viewers, but I usually get 1 or 2. Anyway. Never mind. In 2013, ahead of the release of his directorial debut, Dear White People, should have that Gary thing, shouldn't that X-ray girl thing? White people. The former Hollywood PR manager was named by Variety as one of their 10 directors to watch. 10 years later, the eyes watching him most keenly are likely those of the executives at Walt Disney Studios. Simien's largest project to date is Haunted Mansion. Right, yeah, I forgot we're talking about him. I thought we were still talking about Donald Glover. Sorry, we're talking about Justin Simien, aren't we? Simeon's largest project to date is Haunted Mansion, a $150 million adaptation of a theme park attraction, which were already made years ago with Eddie Murphy, so why bother doing it again? Never mind. Following 2 back-to-back box office bombs and a year with only 2 certified fresh Rotten Tomatoes scores for The House of Mouse. I bet it cost more than 150 million. I bet it did. Lucky for Disney, early reactions to the film seem generally positive, and as the summer season remains dominated by the more adult Barbenheimer mania, a family film like Haunted Mansion could be poised to steal some eyes and make a tidy profit. If it's good, I hope it does well, but I don't know because I've not seen it. Tidy enough to get Lando out of development hell? That remains to be seen. I was told, quote, I was told we had to put a pause on it because of scheduling. And the next update I got was in 2020, some years ago, Simeon admitted. So I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with it. His statement speaks to an apparent disconnect between Lucasfilm's public statements and private workings, which might confuse not only fans, but the creatives involved. In some ways, it seems as though Justin Simeon may be the only one out of the loop with regard to the Lando series, though he hasn't heard much about its progress since he was announced as showrunner in 2020. Both Donald Glover and Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy have expressed their excitement for the supposedly upcoming series. In a 2022 interview with Total Film, Kennedy stated she had been in contact with the actor about Lando, despite recent comments implying she would avoid recasting Star Wars characters after Solo. From her perspective, producing the film without Harrison Ford was a lesson learned. Apparently, she feels differently about Billy D. Williams. Glover confirmed that talks had taken place in a GQ interview, Gentleman's Quarterly, in April of this year, and implied that the series was still a priority, but that it just has to be the right way to do it. He declined to speak further on the series production, lest he step on Kennedy's toes. At present, due to the AMPTP's failure to reach a fair agreement with the writers and actors necessary to make such a series possible, including Simeon and Glover, no progress will be made until the dispute is resolved. Afterward, Lando's fate will likely depend on the state of Star Wars television, though an impressive showing for Simeon's Haunted Mansion certainly wouldn't hurt. Yeah, it's like the ghost in him, aren't they? It seems like that. They're not ignoring his calls. They've taken him off the what they call it when it shows you on your phone your name. They're taking him off that. Anyway, so there we go. Is the Lando Calrissian series happening? Is it not? I've no idea. Some people say it's not. Some people say it is. I don't know. We will see, won't we? That's all we've got to do. Got to wait and see. That's all we can do. Nobody really knows. Probably even the people at Disney, they don't know yet either. Because with this strike going on, everything's up in the air. Like that. In it. Right. Next. A bit of Star Trek now. There we go. Star Trek just fixed everything wrong with the new Enterprise, then threw it away, says Giant Freaking Robot. If animation can get it right, why not live action? Oh, yes, I remember this now. Yes, I had a quick glance at this article. And maybe they watch my videos. I don't know. Maybe my reviews of Strange New Worlds, because I've mentioned it more than once that I don't like the Aztecing on the new Enterprise. There's too much of it for a start. But Aztecing is basically the hull plating, make it look like little hull plates, and there's too much of it. Right, the new Enterprise design featured on Star Trek Strange New Worlds is one of the greatest starship designs of all time. I wouldn't go that far, but it does look nice. But I hate the bridge window. Get rid of that. It keeps all the right things about the original design while updating it in a way that could never have been done in the 60s. Why? Why couldn't they have done this in the 60s? It looks, they could have done that in the 60s. It's only lights, isn't it, after all? But it's CG, isn't it? It's a big deal. I don't know what they're talking about. The result is a design much like the 60s Enterprise, but better and more realistic, except for one thing. Actually, I think they're talking about the inside, not the Aztecing. Or it could be another thing. I don't know. I might be thinking of something else. Anyway, the colour and patterning being used on the Enterprise in Star Trek Strange New Worlds is a disaster. In its first appearance way back on Star Trek Discovery Season 2, the ship also had a weirdly panelled hull. However, it was also lighter in colour. This is when we saw it on Discovery. And I say it looks okay, apart from that horrible thing there, that bridge window. Hate bridge windows. But apart from that, it looks okay. On Star Trek Strange New Worlds, that Discovery model of the Enterprise got some minor tweaks. What they did to the hull was largely to make it look grey and dirty and, well, terrible. I mean, in some shots, particularly in the opening credits, the Enterprise, it looks black. It looks like the... can't remember the name of it. That ship off Star Trek Into Darkness. Can't remember the name of it. It was horrible. Hated it. And the film's crap as well. That's an example of Aztecing, like the hull panels, reflecting the light in different ways. Anyway, all that changed last week with the Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode, Those Old Scientists. That episode features the new opening sequence of the show, one redone by the animation team over at Star Trek Lower Decks. What they accomplished was nothing short of a revelation. Blah, blah. And I did say that in my review, which you can watch on the channel. I said the Lower Deck there it is. Look, it looks better than the actual live action Enterprise, which it does, in my opinion. The animated version of the Enterprise is an exact duplicate of the live action one in every respect, save one, the hull. Instead of a mess of patchwork grey and dark shadows, Aztecing, that obscure the design, they delivered a version of the ship with a smoother white hull. Well, grey. Not I can call it white, would it? But yes, that's what it looked like. It looks, infinitely better than the live action version. There it is. In that shot, in the live action one, the Enterprise, it looks black. It looks like it's been on fire or something. They made it like, it's supposed to be dark, but they made it purpley. Anyway, the new hull colour is not only more in keeping with the way the original Enterprise has been in every other incarnation, the original series and the refit version of the Star Trek movies. Don't forget the animated series. But it's also far more futuristic and sleek looking. A messy patchwork of dirty metal plates does not scream future. Look at your iPhone. Then look at these two versions of the Enterprise. I think it's clear which one looks more futuristic. And there's a comparison. They haven't picked the best. They haven't picked the best shot though, have they, to compare them? But never mind. Never mind. Where were we? Unfortunately, the animated opening with better lighting and far superior hull plating was a one-off. In the show's next episode, we went right back to the old opening and the old live-action model of the Enterprise. We went right back to dim, dark lighting that obscured all of the ship's details and an exterior hull that looks like it was repurposed from the roof of a metal shed. Oh, dear. There we go. There's another example of the Aztecing. It's too dark, isn't it? The Enterprise is too dark. It needs lighten it up. And there you go. That's what it should be like, isn't it, essentially? The original first ever Enterprise design was created by Matt Jeffries. It was meticulously, who gave his name to, obviously, to Jeffries tubes, the access tubes, for maintenance on starships. It was meticulously crafted to depict a vessel that epitomized the optimism of space exploration in the 1960s. Her saucer-shaped primary hull, nacelles, which are those bits there, that create the warp field, nacelles, and engineering section showcased a sense of elegance and functionality, while its iconic Starfleet arrowhead insignia emblazoned on the hull symbolized unity and exploration. And there it is from the original series. It actually looks like a model, a model of the Enterprise, but fair enough, that's what it generally looked like. To portray the futuristic capabilities of the starship, Jeffries implemented a concept called the Star Trek look, a design philosophy that aimed to break free from conventional spaceship portrayals of the time. The Enterprise's bridge was strategically designed with a minimalist approach, utilizing colored buttons and screens that communicated information in a visually appealing manner. For the Star Trek movies, the Enterprise was redesigned to look better on the big screen. That version kept the aesthetic of the original while giving it an Art Deco feel. The refit version of the Enterprise is now widely regarded as one of the best sci-fi ship designs of all time. And it is, because it looks gorgeous from every angle. This new ship version was designed by legendary Trek Starship creator John Eaves. He did brilliant work and is definitely not responsible for the ship's terrible lighting or hull plating. That's the work of the Strange New Worlds FX team, who for some reason have decided they'd like to make his beautiful design look as bad as possible. Here's hoping Strange New Worlds opts for a brighter Enterprise exterior in Season 3. It's not too late to get it right. They won't. They won't make any difference to it. But anyway, but yes, like I say, I agree. It is too dark, and that's it. Look better in animated form. But anyway, there we go. Right, next, I'm going to rattle through these because I've got no bloody viewers. So, why should I make an effort? Why should I bother? Right, there we go. Warwick Davis's dream Star Wars spin-off doesn't necessarily involve Ewoks. Thank God. Actor Warwick Davis, it's Warwick, not Warwick, just FYI, wearing a mask and a full-body teddy bear costume, appeared as Wiki to the Ewok in Richard Marquand's 1983 sci-fi flick Return of the Jedi. Davis was only 12 years old at the time, but it began a long and lucrative association with Star Wars for the actor, leading Davis to appear in multiple installations of the franchise since. In addition to playing Wicket in Jedi and the follow-up TV movies Caravan of Courage and The Battle for Endor, why doesn't Battle for Endor get a link? Never mind. Davis played 3 roles in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, including Weasel, Wald, and Yoda as a stand-in. I think he played him when we saw Yoda, so like pacing backwards and forwards, right at the end of the film. I think that was Warwick Davis in the Yoda costume. He also played Wallivan in Star Wars The Force Awakens, Weeteef CUB in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, Wodibin in The Last Jedi, Weasel again in Solo, as well as several droids, and Wizik Mozzers, I think that's Weasel, and Wizik Mozzer in The Rise of Palpatine. Oh, that was close, wasn't it? There seems to be a joke that Davis should always play a character whose name begins with a W in the TV series Star Wars Rebels. However, he voiced Rook, breaking the pattern. I think that was an already existing character, I think, Rook. I'm sure it was. You know, from the novels or comics or something. I'm sure it was a previously existing character. From Legends. Davis may have played more Star Wars characters than any other actor. Given how many Star Wars TV shows that have aired in recent years, it seems that just about every minor character can reappear somewhere in the expanded franchise's canon. Naturally, that has fans wondering if one of their favourites might show up again in a future Disney Plus series. This fact was mentioned to Davis in a recent video interview with Danish outlet Movie TV. Would he be interested in playing Wicket again? Davis said he'd love to be part. He'd love to be part of Star Wars again, but would rather play Weetie from Rogue One. And there he is. Is that all we saw on the door gun during the Battle of Scarif? Was that him or was that a different one? I can't remember. But we saw him on Jeddah, didn't we? So presumably he actually died on Jeddah, presumably, because that all got blown up, didn't it? Anyway, here are some facts culled from the terrifyingly thorough Wikipedia. Weeteef is of the species Talpini and was an expert in explosives. He was also a skilled sniper and worked for Saw Gerrera's faction of partisans. Rogue One was the first Star Wars film to imply that the rebels weren't necessarily a united force, with different factions using different tactics to attack the Empire. He also utilized a Tibana-jacked DH-17/E11 hybrid custom blaster rifle. I'll take Wikipedia's word for it. Davis was fond of Weeteef, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and figured that playing a skilled combat hero might be a hoot. Davis can't quite recall the fate of his character, so there was no reason for him to not want to revisit it, Davis said. I said, I'm sure he got blown up and the Death Star destroyed Jeddah. He could have got away, I suppose. I mean, I forgot the names. Them that were seeing the New Hope, he doesn't like you, them two. They were on Jeddah and they got away, didn't they, somehow? Anyway, I mean, I've been involved with Star Wars ever since Return of the Jedi, says Davis, Warwick, legend. In various forms, I'm often asked to go back and do some of the TV work. But yeah, something for Wicket would be fun, wouldn't it? Although, let's look at the other characters I've played. I think there's some really interesting characters in there, namely Wheatie from Rogue One. You know, what's happened to him? Did he end up blowing up? I can't remember now. It's all a blur. For the record, Wheatie seems to have survived. All right. He appeared after a crucial battle in Rogue One, so he was not blown up. What do you mean he appeared after a crucial battle? Did he? I don't know. I said I thought he was on the Dogun, but that might have been a different alien. I can't remember. But even then, he probably died because the Death Star blew up that area of Scarif, didn't it? Anyway, he played the freedom fighter in Solo, a Star Wars story, so why not go back to him? Some of those characters I've played, he said, like Weasel, for example, in Solo. He's quite an interesting character too. Let's find out what he gets up to. Pitch, The Adventures of Wheatie from Weasel. Davis can play both leads, just to make it more expensive because of effects. They used to do it though in the olden days, didn't they? You just have a split screen, and when you had the same character, and you couldn't see the join back then. So there we go. Warwick Davis would like to play Wheatie again, even though the character's probably got blown up by the Death Star. But never mind. Right, let's move on. What's this one? This is a bit of a sciencey one, sort of, but not really. Is it going to come on? Oh, it's come on straight away. The most epic sci-fi monster movie on streaming has a kernel of scientific truth. You can guess what it is from that. Island rule actually isn't that scary, though. For decades, King Kong and Godzilla have captured the public imagination. Since their respective debuts in 1933 and 54, the 1933 King Kong is actually one of my favourite films of all time. It's amazing. Even to this day, and it's coming up to 100 years old, isn't it? Soon. Well, 2033. Anyway, they've been rebooted time and again. They've even gotten to share a couple of movies that honours their larger-than-life lust for destroying buildings. The 2021 action film Godzilla vs. Kong, which removes the gorilla's monarchical title, provides the latest opportunity for these two giants to duke it out in this sequel. They previously faced each other in King Kong vs. Godzilla in 1964, I think. A Japanese film, but there was re-edited and some scenes added with Raymond Burr for the American audience. It's not amazing. It's fun. Anyway, in the film, it's been 5 years since the dragon-like alien King Ghidorah roused the Titans, only to face defeat at Godzilla's little hands. He got his hair carny. Does he smell of cabbage? Kong lives out his lonely days in a dome on Skull Island. That came out of nowhere as well, didn't it? How did they manage that? But he's thought to be the only giant who can fend off Godzilla's sudden attacks. A team of scientists dig further into the Titan's homeworld, the Hollow Earth, where they learn the primate and lizard actually have some beef. That's about when the researchers also learn that there's a Mecha Godzilla in the mix too. A few things make this movie unlikely to occur. Just a few. For one, most lizards truly are silly little guys who simply enjoy basking in the sun. But it's not really a lizard, though, is it? It's a monster. If there are any humongous lizards endowed by an atomic blast, they've done a good job leaving us alone. They have no need to fight a giant gorilla, even to finish an ages-old war. No, you're just talking nonsense there. The main principle at play in this film, supersized creatures originating from remote locales, isn't entirely far-fetched. Size and growth both factor into evolution. Yes, evolution. And sometimes where a species can live, and sometimes where a species lives can make all the difference. We may not have to worry about any titans, but there are certainly some creatures who have exploded in size from their isolation in island colonies like the Galapagos and Seychelles Islands. Right. The principle, island rule. The principle of a population size increasing or decreasing because of its isolated island environment is called the island rule. Kong is the beneficiary, can't read tonight, of island gigantism, while Godzilla benefits rather from an atomic blast. Let's make sure we're still going. Yeah. While theories behind this evolution abound, researchers still aren't certain of exactly why or how it happens. Some favourite island giants have been turtles and tortoises from the Galapagos and Seychelles Islands, the dodo bird from Mauritius, the extinct dodo bird, and the Komodo dragon, which is arguably the closest thing we have to Godzilla right now. Don't forget crocodiles and alligators. It's a mystery, and that's one of the reasons we're interested in it. Brett Paiser, a genetics professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, tells him this. The opposite can also occur as island dwarfism. I'd actually heard of that. I thought that was the thing that happened on islands. I thought animals generally got smaller because there's less land to live on. Because they found that dinosaurs, they found examples of like dinosaurs on an island. And they were kind of like the dinosaurs that they saw elsewhere, but just smaller versions of them. I'm sure I've seen that somewhere. Anyway, any animal, including an extinct species of hominid that Paiser mentions, described as pygmy, is an example of a dwarfism version. Not just any animal can become a larger or smaller version. Paiser says that typically large animals are prone to shrink, while little guys are prone to grow. Island rule encompasses both gigantism and dwarfism. This phenomenon was first described in a 1964 paper that focused on mammalian evolution on islands. The author and naturalist Bristol Foster, that's a cool name, isn't it? Didn't find compelling evidence for a substantial size increase among island shrews. Still, data suggested that there was a trend between island environs and different sizes. In the 1973 paper, evolutionary biologist Lee Van Valen, another cool name, coined the term island rule for this principle. And there's Godzilla and Kong fighting on an aircraft carrier. That film was stupid but fun. Anyway, Paiser explains the first flaw in the film science, which is the island rule typically states that animals with a small body mass get bigger, while animals with a large body mass get smaller. As far as we know, I need to go live on an island then and get smaller. I've got a large body mass. Or just get to the gym. Anyway, as far as we know, there's nothing right now about an animal as large as a gorilla growing to the height of a building. As far as we know. He's most familiar, however, with the case of island gigantism in house mice, the very same species that you may find dwelling in your home. Is it like, Food of the Gods, that film? Oh dear. Look it up, it's amazing. These relatively enormous mice live on Gough, pronounced like Gough. I did, that's how I said it. Island in the South Atlantic. Save for some researchers stationed there, the island is uninhabited by humans. They may not be Godzilla, but these mice are twice the size of mice of the same species, musculus. I'm sorry, it's another great name, isn't it? That live on the mainland. While scientists aren't certain when or how they arrived on the island, Paiser suspects that they arrived from Western Europe several centuries ago on sealing ships. Ships that go sealing, yeah, catching seals. Not sailing ships. Maybe it is, I don't know. Anyway, the rodents we are familiar with weigh 15 grams on average, while Paiser says Gough Island mice are 30 grams. It's not just that these mice pack on more weight, but their bodily proportions are different too. Their bodies have evolved in concert with that, so they're also longer and they have bigger bones, he tells Inverse. That's what you say to all fat people, don't you? Including me, you're big boned. But this article doesn't go on too much longer, don't worry. Another consequence of island rule may be behavioural changes. The Gough Island mice have a few surprising aberrations, including their carnivorous diet. Mice typically subsist on fruit, nuts, and seeds, but these giant island mice have a weird adaptation to devour birds, a few hundred times their size, Pezer says, mainly albatross chicks. What's more, these stone-cold killers eat the chicks while they're still alive, which is pretty gruesome, he adds. It's awful. This macabre diet may also contribute to the fact that they bite harder than mainland house mice. Researchers have also compared how these island mice behave against mainland mice in a controlled lab setting. Pezer says others have found that island mice are bolder, less anxious, and more exploratory. Foxes on the Channel Islands have also been observed to act less coyly, in addition to being on the smaller side. I think they might mean Channel Islands, as in the ones that are in the English Channel. I know there are other places called the Channel Islands, but I think they might mean those. These are Gough Island mice, are twice the size of mainland house mice, and there you go, just so you can see. Right, we're nearly done. Yeah. Right, possibly, but I mean, one big question remains. What factors drive these animals to evolve a whole new size? While island rule still doesn't explain that yet, researchers look for connections between their physiological and behavioural traits and their environment. Much like in Hollow Earth, fauna's home can determine how it flourishes. A larger size and bolder attitude may come from their relatively sweet setup on Gough Island. No predators, no competition, and generally abundant resources. In those ways, life is better for them than on the mainland, Pezer says. On the other hand, mainland predation could be responsible for removing larger animals from the gene pool. It's possible that on the mainland, larger mice are more likely to get caught by avian or terrestrial predators, Pezer says. So on the island, without predation, maybe the mice are free to get bigger. A 2021 paper published in the journal Nature, Ecology and Evolution, yes, Evolution, offers a comprehensive phylogenetic meta-analysis of known island fauna and found that the more remote an island is, the more pronounced the effects of island rule are on its inhabiting species. You know, like Easter Island, which is the most remote island, going in it, or most remote inhabited island. So the people that move what they call the moai, whatever they call them, the big stone heads, them statues, were they actually giants then on Easter Island? Anyway, I forgot where I was now. There's maybe something about cutting off migration from other places that can allow them to take a sort of new path, Pezer says. This paper also says that island rules' effects are more apparent among mammals, birds, and reptiles, which does technically encompass both Godzilla and Kong. But yeah, that's pretty much all the animals there are on land, isn't it? To be honest, you've got amphibians, but they're like partly in water, and fish. Everything else, really, is a mammal, bird, or a reptile, apart from the insects and bugs and stuff. But maybe they didn't. Maybe this is just about vertebrates. Anyway, however, we likely don't have to worry about any mega primates or lizards anytime soon. I don't think Godzilla's a lizard, is he? But there we go. So a bit of science for you. Boring. Right, next. Next. Patrick Stewart. That's who's next. It's too late. I'd seen everything. I'd seen it all. Patrick Stewart's favourite Star Trek episode inspired Next Generation's best movie. Star Trek First Contact is the best movie from the TNG era science fiction movies. Yeah. It was inspired by Patrick Stewart's favourite episode from the TV series. I wonder what that was. I know, because I've had a sneak peek. I haven't read it, but I just glanced down because I was curious. I thought we were going to say best of both worlds, the Borg and all that, but no, it's not that. Right. Few Star Trek fans would argue against the suggestion that Star Trek First Contact is the best of the Star Trek movies from Patrick Stewart's 4 TNG era outings. In fact, it's among the best movies in the whole cinematic franchise, able to come toe-to-toe with the earlier movies from William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and whistling. Released in 1996, First Contact sees the crew of the USS Enterprise E travel back through the Star Trek timeline and into the past to combat a Borg plot to prevent humanity's first meeting with the Vulcans. It stands as one of the best science fiction movies of the decade, taking the Star Trek The Next Generation cast and reshaping them to fit an action thriller movie. In doing so, it does lose some of the classic TNG-style charm, but it's a fun and exciting adventure when all's said and done. Not everybody loves it. The Red Letter Media guys didn't like it, did they? But I do. I think it's amazing. I think it's a great film. Stop being so bloody, moaning about everything. As long as it's fun and you have a good time watching it, you don't have to pull it apart. Anyway, partly that's because it's inspired by Stewart's personal favourite TNG episode, Starship Mine. Remember that one? It's a good one. Nestled towards the end of Season 6, Starship Mine is a die-hardish action episode which sees Stewart's Star Trek captain single-handedly take on a group of malevolent intruders, including Tim Russ, who would later appear in Voyager as Tuvok, a role he reprised for Star Trek Picard Season 3. I think it had Patricia Tallman in as well, who we'd seen elsewhere in Star Trek, most famously in Babylon 5. I'm sure she's in that. While it doesn't go down as a classic ethical dilemma episode, Starship Mine is a fun adventure which also includes a brilliant subplot about Data learning to make small talk. Yeah, it's hilarious. And Stewart enjoyed his time filming the episode so much that it influenced First Contact. Speaking with The Hollywood Reporter, the movie's co-writer, Ronald D. Moore, recalled how it happened. Patrick had really liked doing the TNG episode Starship Mine, where he was alone on the Enterprise D and running around. And I think he overtly referenced that in a way like, I would really like to be the one on the ship fighting the Borg instead of down on the surface. Originally, the draft for the script had seen Riker stay aboard the Enterprise to fight the Borg as the more natural action hero type character, but Stewart's enthusiasm saw their roles reversed, and instead Jonathan Frakes, who also directed the movie, would lead the plot down on Earth's surface in which the crew attempted to ensure that Zefram Cochrane successfully invented the warp engine. And it also means it gave us the great scene where Picard smashes his little ships. A line must be drawn. Here, no further. That scene. Anyway, despite the shake-ups and changes, First Contact was a big success critically and commercially, proving that the TNG cast could make it on the big screen after their previous underwhelming attempt with Generations. It was just, Generations were fine, but, could have been better. Unfortunately, they could never reach the heights of First Contact again, and the movie series stuttered to an abrupt end with Nemesis, which I really liked. In 2023, they all reunited for one final time, though, in Star Trek Picard Season 3. It was a proper send-off in the same vein as the original series era movies and closed the Next Generation chapter for good. Blah, blah, blah. Also check other stuff. What we got here? A Guide to the Kelsey Mail. Yeah, we saw that in First Contact. Strange New Worlds. First Contact's a cool movie, but Starship Mine is a great episode. It's a lot of fun. So give it a whirl. Find it on Paramount Plus and Netflix and places like that. Or in your video collection. Right, move on. I'm going to say something else and I forgot what. Can't be important, so we'll move on. We'll hammer through these stories. Stargate next. Right, SG-1 co-creator Brad Wright explains one of his biggest regrets while creating Stargate canon. In a series as vast as Stargate, some things are bound to work better than others. The Stargate franchise is one of the biggest sci-fi has to offer. Stargate SG-1 alone covers more than 200 episodes of stories, over 10 seasons, and 3 movies. Oh, and that's not even counting the 2 spin-off movies they made. Well, I said 3 movies, including Stargate. Throw in 2 follow-up shows, more spin-off movies, and of course the original film. More spin-off movies. Oh, well, there were Stargate Origins, weren't there? Yeah. And you've got a lot of narrative spinning out of a single tale about a space portal. And of course, running out that many story threads for the sci-fi original franchise over the course of decades is bound to create a few issues. As SG-1 co-creator Brad Wright explained in a recent piece for The Companion, as part of a larger discussion of the rules you must establish when working within a science fiction universe, Wright laid out various challenges that the SG-1 writers encountered over the course of the series and how they solved them by creating new rules. But of course, some of those rules come with pitfalls, and sometimes you make a rule so complicated that it starts to get in the way of actual storytelling. In fact, one new rule in particular, created to reduce the number of character deaths on the series, grew so complicated that Wright and company eventually just shoved it to the back shelf of the show. And there's Jack O'Neill and Samantha Carter. Is this the episode where they were up against that Anubis' super soldier? I know they've got a name, but I can't remember what they're called. Is that episode? I think it is. And she barely got out alive, as you can see. Anyway, sometimes we found ourselves lamenting the new rules we made up, Wright explained. Co-creator Jonathan Glassner realised that the body count was alarmingly high every time we fought our Goa'uld enemies, and so he came up with a new weapon called a Zat Nicotel, or Zat gun, a name I never warmed to. It's fine. Let's say Zat gun's fine. It's onomatopoeic, isn't it? It was basically a phaser, except more phallic. I've got one over there that I made myself. Just bear with me. Yeah, there we go. I wouldn't have made out of foam because I couldn't afford to buy one. But it's usually like that. And then they open up and so they do look a bit phallic. My mate calls it my knob gun. But I made that for when I used to do conventions and I used to, put that in my holster. And so there we go. Where were we? One shot stunned, a second shot killed, fine. Then one day on set, in an earnest effort to lower the body count of bad guys dead on the studio floor, he added a third setting. A third shot made the bad guy disappear. This was downright silly to me. We eventually stopped doing that, but it's in the episode. No, they did it for quite a while. Sometimes your own rules bite you in the ass. But yeah, they were a bit vague with the, one shot stuns, a second shot kills, but how long after? Does the second shot kill? And same with the third shot. What's the time? The time differential. In another instance, somewhat earlier in the series, Wright and company found themselves dealing not with the rule they created, but with the rule created by the original Stargate film. Pardon me. The larger concept of the gate itself was enough to propel a TV series through episode after episode. Well, it turned out other concepts were a little less friendly to adaptation. Not all rules are created in the first episode. Series evolve and grow, and if there's sufficient continuity, that evolution is bound by the rules that came before. That is, unless those rules should be undone, Wright explained. In season 2, writer and producer Rob Cooper correctly pointed out that the sarcophagus device from the movie could literally bring people back from the dead. Was too much of a get-out-of-jail-free card for our characters. He came up with a story that made its continuous use both addictive and destructive. Problem solved, although that didn't stop us from bringing them back from the dead from time to time in other ways. Yes, that were used quite a bit. I think Daniel kind of got addicted to it I think Hathor wanted it. I think she did something with him. And obviously Baal used it on Jack O'Neill, killed him and kept bringing him back. But Jack O'Neill didn't go addicted to it, didn't turn evil. Because that was the excuse why the Goa'uld turned evil, because they've been using the sarcophagi for thousands of years to stay young, basically. And it's, sent them doolally and crazy. But anyway. But I think the Goa'uld was supposedly, quite aggressive to begin with, an aggressive species anyway, but the sarcophagus kind of enhanced that even more. Anyway. That's it. That's the end of the article. For more on the weird dance of keeping Stargate's many rules in line, check out the full piece over at the Companion, and there's a link you can follow. Stargate SG-1 was a groundbreaking original series for sci-fi. It started out on Showtime, didn't it? Full frontal nudity in the pilot episode. But they changed that when they re-edited it. But you can, if you get an old DVD, you can still see the nudity. Anyway, with the franchise spawning 2 spin-off series in Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe, and there was an animated series, Stargate Infinity, but the less said about that, the better, and serving as a staple of sci-fi's originals lined up for the better part of a decade. And over on the Popcast channel, they've just done a video about, Stargate possibly returning at some point, but this strike has thrown everything in the air on it. But Amazon are supposedly wanting to do Stargate. And not a new Stargate, a Stargate that continues the work of SG-1 and Atlantis and Universe. But anyway. But that's the future, because this strike's just stopping everything. Right, let's move on. I think something's happening with my YouTube. I think something's happening with it. I'm not getting views, but we'll see. Right, Star Trek show Paramount Plus cancelled is the best entry point to the franchise, says producers. Exclusive to Screen Rant. Star Trek producers Rod Roddenberry and Trevor Roth named the cancelled Star Trek prodigy as the best entry point into the franchise. I won't go that far. Star Trek producers Rod Roddenberry and Trevor Roth declared, just said that. Rod, the son of Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry, and Roth run Roddenberry Entertainment. They also serve as producers on the Star Trek series on Paramount Plus. The streamer ignited controversy and fan ire by cancelling Star Trek Prodigy in June and purging all 20 Season 1 episodes from Paramount Plus just 3 days later. Star Trek Prodigy is still completing its 20-episode Season 2 order and is being shopped around to find a new streaming home. In an exclusive interview with Screen Rant, but can they do that? Maybe they can with Season 2, I don't know, but if they've taken it off Paramount Plus in like some sort of tax write-off, supposedly that's the end of it. You're not allowed to, sell it or anything. It's got to be like put in a vault or burned on it. You're not allowed to do anything else with it. Anyway, whatever. In an exclusive interview with Screen Rant at San Diego Comic-Con, Rod Roddenberry and Trevor Roth were asked which Star Trek show is the best jumping-on point for new fans, and both producers named Star Trek Prodigy. Just go with the original series where it all began. Or Enterprise, which is, chronologically the starting off point, isn't it? Anyway. They were asked which star just said that. Check out their quotes below. Right, Rod Roddenberry says, Prodigy is a great introduction series. It was initially, and stop me anytime, it was initially put out there for kids. Well, it was a Nickelodeon, joint venture. And that was the idea, to get the between 3 and 9 range. It is not. It is from the 3 to 93. It's for all the family. And I'm not just being nice. I truly enjoy it as an adult. I started watching it with my son. I now watch it on my own. I love it. It's a good series. It's fun. It is sort of an intro into what Star Trek is, because you've got all these characters from different parts of the universe, galaxy. And I'm not going to get into the story, but they're on the ship now, and they ask the question, what is Starfleet? What does this mean? Oh, what has my life been? Oh, now I have purpose. And they just learn about what Starfleet is and the Federation. Starfleet is, and through that, the audience learns what Star Trek is or Starfleet is. Again, Star Trek, and I think it is the perfect introduction. And for me, it is almost one of the perfect Star Treks out there. That's pushing it a bit, but it is fun. It is good. Trevor Roth, I'm a bit of a purist in a way, and I guess people would define that word differently, but I Just love it because it's all the good that Star Trek is. And there's the, because it's got hologram Janeway in, and it's actually got the actual Janeway in as well later on. Along with Rod Roddenberry and Trevor Roth, Star Trek Prodigy obviously has fans within Paramount Global, such as Vice President of Star Trek Brand Development John Van Sitters. According to Trek Movie, Van Sitters told the audience at Comic-Con Star Trek, the animated series' 50th anniversary celebration panel, that Paramount Plus's cancellation isn't the end of the story for Prodigy. Season 2 is still in production. And he shouldn't have taken Season 1 off. Baffling. The creative team is working hard to finish what is a great storyline, and we're working to find Prodigy a new home. Yet the enthusiasm and self-professed love for Star Trek Prodigy by execs only makes the animated series' abrupt cancellation more confounding. Fans have rallied behind Star Trek Prodigy's executive producers Kevin and Dan Hageman and their creative team's efforts to find the show a new streaming home. The Change.org Save Star Trek Prodigy fan petition is nearing 32,000 signatures. Well, probably more now, but I don't know. We'll see. More than the similar, I'll open that up in a new link and we'll look in a minute. More than the similar successful petition that helped lead to the creation of Star Trek Strange New Worlds received. Star Trek Prodigy is one of the most in-demand TV series in the United States, in spite of its cancellation, according to Parrot Analytics. And Rod Roddenberry and Trevor Roth agree that Star Trek Prodigy is the best gateway into the expansive and rewarding Star Trek universe. All Star Trek Prodigy needs is a new streaming service to call home. And the Blu-rays and DVDs, I suppose, are hard to come by now because they released the first half of season 1 on DVD and Blu-ray, and apparently they're flying off the shelves like hotcakes. But it's only the first half; it's only the first 10 episodes, and there's 20 episodes. So. But at the moment, in the UK at least, on Amazon Prime Video, you can buy the whole of season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy. Sometimes it says $9.99, sometimes it says $19.99. I don't know. I got it for $9.99. So anyway, so there we go. Oh, that's the end. That's it. So yes, bring Prodigy game on the PS. There we go. I'm back. Problems with this. Right, we'll move on. It's coming up with that connection issues. Connection is fairly good. Don't understand. I know it's gone off again. I don't know if it's a StreamYard's problem or if it's a my computer problem. I've no idea. Anyway, whatever. And according to that, I've only got one viewer, and that could be me. I don't actually know. Could be. Am I still on? Oh no, I signed off it. Anyway, whatever. Right, next. Oh, this is the petition. It's on 31,872. The Save Star Trek Prodigy petition. I just thought I'd check. Right, nearly there, nearly done. 2 more stories, then we can go and finish off the rest of our day. Right, you're going to come on. Yes, Sandra Bullock was offered Keanu Reeves' best movie before him. Keanu Reeves starred in one of the best science fiction movies of all time. Obviously talking about Johnny Mnemonic. But the studio went to every other Hollywood star first, including some women. There they are together in Speed. I haven't seen that film for years. The bus that couldn't slow down. Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock famously had fantastic chemistry, one of the best action movies ever. Fiona, give up with your hyperbole. 1994, Speed, and they've since revealed that they had real-life crushes on one another at the time. Their chemistry was put to good use once again in the 2006 romance movie, The Lake House. Obviously, I've not seen that. I bet Fiona has. But in between these two movies, there's another interesting what might have been moment between the two, because Bullock was almost cast as Trinity in The Matrix and was even approached for Keanu Reeves' starring role as Neo. Around the time of The Matrix's 20th anniversary in 2019, producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventura explained via The Wrap that they faced many challenges in getting the almost incomprehensible script turned into a big budget movie with two little known directors. We were getting desperate. We went to Sandy Bullock. Sorry. And said, we'll change Neo to a girl. This is interesting, considering how many people now view The Matrix as a trans allegory. Because the directors are trans. I worked with Sandy on Demolition Man, and she was and continues to be a very good friend of mine. It was pretty simple. We sent her the script to see if she was interested in it. And if she was interested in it, we would try to make the change. It just wasn't something for her at the time. So really, it didn't go anywhere. In 2009, Sandra Bullock told NBC's Today that she was also considering for the part of Trinity and regretted not taking it. But she added that it was sexy and great because of Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu. It sounds as though as though lots of big Hollywood stars had a red pill, blue pill moment when it came to The Matrix. As Di Bonaventura explained, the first movie star who said yes is Brad Pitt. He's doing 7 years in Tibet, and then he's coming out of it, and he's like, I'm way too exhausted to take this on, so he's gone. So imagine The Matrix with Brad Pitt in it. Then we go to Leonardo DiCaprio. He says yes, we have meetings with him, and then he goes, you know, I can't go do another visual effects movie having just finished Titanic. And he drops out. Then Will Smith joins it, and he drops out. Smith has since spoken about how close he came to playing Neo, but says that he was confused by the Wachowskis' pitch for the movie. He famously made Wild Wild West instead, which became a notorious bomb. And I've never seen that all the way through. And that's it. There we go. There we go. So nearly had Sandra Bullock as Neo. That'd have been different, wouldn't it? Very interesting. Right, next. Last, and by probably least. It's a space news one from CBBC. You're going to come on. There we go. Comet shaped like Star Wars' Millennium Falcon will pass by Earth, and there's an image. Yeah, that is vaguely like it. It could also look like the Starship Enterprise from underneath or on top, or the NX-01, or some other a Miranda class. Could anyway. If you're a Star Wars fan, then maybe you've imagined looking up at the night sky and seeing Han Solo's ship, the Millennium Falcon, flying past. Well, this dream could become a step closer to reality after astronomers have spotted a comet shaped like the famous spacecraft. They have said sky gazers may be able to see the once-in-a-lifetime sight for themselves next year without a telescope. Earlier this month, the comet, known as Comet 12P Pons-Brooks, became 100 times brighter with plumes of debris and ice blasting off it into space. This gave it a horseshoe shape, which scientists likened to the Millennium Falcon spaceship from the Star Wars film series. Comets like Pons-Brooks follow long looping orbits around the sun, spending much of their time in the outer solar system. At those distances, cold temperatures keep any substances on the surface, such as water and carbon dioxide, frozen as ice. But as a comet approaches the sun and temperatures rise, it causes the ice to sublimate, turning directly from a solid to a gas and jet away, creating the object's trademark tail. There we go. There's another one there. A comet. Is that an artist's impression, or is that an actual photo? I don't know. The comet will make its closest approach to the sun next year, passing about 144 million miles from Earth on June 2nd, 2024. This is just weeks after there is due to be a total solar eclipse on 8th of April 2024, although this will be mainly visible in North America. But two such events happening so close is very rare, with Richard Miles of the British Astronomical Association, saying it's once in a blue moon that you'll see a comet next to an eclipsed sun. While it may be possible to see the comet with just your eyes, Miles has advised people to use binoculars. He said it should be visible. It's guaranteed to get a lot brighter, just in the normal way all comets get a lot brighter. What it could do is have an outburst during the eclipse. At the moment, it's only really visible with a telescope at a nice dark site, but around the time of the eclipse next April, it'll be bright enough to easily find with a pair of binoculars from your back garden, even if you live in suburbs. Astronomers aren't sure exactly why the comet has brightened so much in recent weeks, but one explanation could be an active ice volcano on the surface that is causing it to light up the sky. This idea is something Miles has said scientists would never have expected to see happen. It's something of a revolutionary idea that you have liquid inside a comet, and scientists have for decades never really come to terms with it. And this is what the comet looks like when having its bright outburst as captured on a telescope. There you see it. When you see this comet, do what it's doing. You can't really explain it without saying, as well as solids and gases, there are liquids inside the comet, making it behave in this very unusual way, he added. But the idea that there are liquids, I don't know, or is liquid inside comets could also help support a theory shared previously that comets not only brought water to Earth, but also helped spread the germs of life on our planet. Panspermia, no less. Dr. Edward Gomez of the Las Cumbres Observatory in Cardiff. Oh, I thought it was going to be like in California or something, the Las Cumbres. It's in Cardiff. Who have been involved in capturing images of the comet, said studying this phenomenon more gives us a great snapshot of what conditions were like when the planets formed and how the planets formed. While most people will have to wait until next year to see the comet, amateur astronomers could have the chance to see it much sooner. People in the northern hemisphere, which includes the UK, could catch Pons Brooks this week. By the way, they're named after the two people that discovered it. The initial person who found it, and then another astronomer who verified it, and they give it to both of them. This week, while it's still bright enough to see with a 6-inch telescope, a big, a smallish reflector or a big refractor. The comet, that's it. The comet is currently in the Draco constellation in the north, meaning it's visible all night long from many locations above the equator. As soon as the sky grows dark after sunset, look north to locate Polaris, the North Star, at the tip of the Little Dipper's handle. It will remain in roughly the same spot for the next week, but the sooner you look, the better. The moon is quickly waxing toward full and will make the background sky brighter along the way, making the comet harder to see. But if you miss seeing it now, don't worry. Experts say this is just a preview and that the comet has much more in store for us next spring. There we go. Want to know more about the comet? Comet 12P Pons Brooks was first spotted in 1812 and orbits the sun every 71 years. Its latest outburst was discovered on July 20th by Elek Tamas of Harson Observatory near Hungary. It was later captured by members of the Comet Chasers Education and Outreach Project, led by a team from the UK using the Folks telescope. So there we go. And that's it, I think. I think that's that was the last story I've got selected. Yes, it was. Right, so that's it. So we can bugger off. We've done, or I have done. And me one viewer, whoever you are, hello, welcome to the show. Thank you for sticking with me all the way through this. If it's just me, then whatever. Right, we'll leave it there. So thanks for watching, wherever you are. Look after each other. And until next time, I'll see thee.